Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It is Friday, April 22nd, and I'm Dylan Stafford. This is the UCLA Anderson Drive Time Podcast. I'm your host today. This is episode 87, very special episode. You're going to meet two brave pioneers, right? The greatest distance is always 0 to 1. Somebody has to go first, and you're going to meet Cory Hoeferlin and Sagar Rambhia today, two residents here at UCLA in the Stein Eye Institute, who are also, while they're going through their residency, they are pioneering a pilot with the UCLA Anderson fully-employed-mba program and the Jules Stein ophthalmology area. While they're doing their residency, they are also going through femba, which involves a whole bunch of work, a whole bunch of calendar juggling. And we've never done it before, but we're thrilled about this. We call it the Eye MBA. And if it is successful, it could possibly become a pattern and build a bridge across campus, which is one of Dean Bernardo's goals, that UCLA Health and UCLA Anderson, really benefit each other to maximum ability. And building bridges across campus, while it may take a little time, is always worth the effort. So, let me just say a quick word of introduction to each of my guests today. Well, actually, let me pause for a second because I get all amped up. Cory, hi. Sagar, hi.
Hey.
Thank you. We started talking about this. Cory and I started exchanging emails. I went back and looked at the chain back in 2020 as he was starting his femba coursework. Things take time. And here we are in 2022, finally getting a chance to have this conversation. So, but let me say a few words of introduction of each of you, and then we'll jump into the questions because I really want to use your time and cover a lot of ground today. So my introduction for Cory Hoeferlin. Cory's a second-year ophthalmology resident at UCLA at the Jules Stein Eye Institute, and he's the pioneer. He's the very first of our Eye MBA program participants. Cory took a very non-traditional route to medical school, and we might get a chance to talk about that. He's currently also working at a med tech startup. And two fun facts, which I think are both pretty epic. One fun fact is that before medical school at Emory, Cory spent 2 years as a data analyst at Google. How many medical doctors do you know who've ever done that? And fun fact number 2, this is pretty awesome. Cory's wife, Madison, is almost completing her executive MBA program here at UCLA Anderson, and they have a baby very, very, very much on the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Witness Cory's eyebrows raised. So that's your first child?
Yes.
Again, the distance between 0 to 1. Number 2, they get easier, but the first one is awesome. And so Cory, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for the invitation. It's an honor to be here.
And with Cory is Dr. Sagar Rambhia, who is an ophthalmology resident at UCLA at the Jules Stein Institute also, and is the second person to go through the Eye MBA program. He is chronologically, I guess, 2 years behind Cory in terms of when he started. And a couple of fun facts about Sagar, sorry, I told you I would, my brain will get nervous. One fact is that during medical school at Case Western, Sagar co-founded Grasshopper Capital, a hedge fund dedicated to investing in cryptocurrency and crypto assets. He's also currently raising his own venture capital fund. And a final fun fact, he once had a rental property burn to the ground.
Really meant that as a joke, but yeah.
I think you can see in both Cory and Sagar that we have some very bold and brave people who are pursuing the boundaries of medicine, specifically in ophthalmology, but also have a very, I think, non-traditional doctor bent and want to do also grow their lives in the world of business and making things happen in the MBA and the business world. So that's the longest introduction of all time, but I think it's merited because you guys are really fantastic. So we have some questions. We're going to hit these and you guys can both answer each, or you can tag team, or, whatever you want to do. But just to the non-doctors out there who are like me, who only have ever watched hundreds of episodes of Grey's Anatomy with their wife on the couch. So, what's a residency? Just thumbnail, what is a residency? let people know about that. We'll start with that.
So residency is a specialization training after medical school. So we both graduated medical school, that took 4 years, and then we match into our subspecialty. So that's things like internal medicine or surgery, or in our case, ophthalmology. So it's an extra 4 years of training to become a certified ophthalmologist. And then fellowships are on top of that if one chooses to pursue a fellowship.
Okay, so you already went to medical school. You are a medical doctor, but wait, there's more, and that is residency. So from Emory, from Case Western, you each came here to UCLA. Is UCLA a desirable residency? Is it a good location to land?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's probably the combination of location and the quality of faculty as good as it gets. And I'm definitely very lucky to be here all the way from the East Coast.
Awesome. Well, we're lucky to have you. And as you were looking at choosing your residency, when and how did you hear about the Eye MBA program, and what impact did that have on your trajectory?
Well, I heard about the EyeMBA program when I was applying for residency. So the way the residency, the match works is when you decide on a subspecialty, you look at a big rank list of programs and you decide what programs you want to submit an application to, interview at, and then rank on a list. And as you rank them, they rank you, and then an algorithm tells you where you're going to go for the next 4 years. So when I decided ophthalmology, I was looking at the list of programs to see where to send my application to, and this was listed on there as the first year. So honestly, even without the EyeMBA program, I think UCLA Stein would have been my top choice. But the ability to earn this MBA at a top tier business school at the same time was really no brainer. So I put a best foot forward, and the stars aligned on match day.
That's amazing. Okay, so you put in your request, they have their criteria, there's an algorithm, and I mean, it just seems like such a huge part of your journey. You really have to, I guess, kind of trust the process, I guess.
In this case, it worked.
Yeah. Fantastic. Fantastic. And how about you, Sagar?
Yeah, similar to Cory, had decided to apply for ophthalmology and was looking at the list of programs, and I saw UCLA listed twice or actually 3 times with the EyeMBA, and they have another program as well called iStar, which is more of a PhD track. And I thought, wow, this is extraordinarily rare. I can only think of one other program that offers a MBA during residency for emergency medicine physicians. So I was delightfully surprised to see that there was a MBA track being offered at, like Cory said, a top residency program and a top academic institution to get a MBA from.
And I think you started to answer this question, Cory, but maybe to deepen it a little bit. So the residency, if you were just quote unquote, just doing the residency, that would have been a 4-year endeavor, and then fellowships beyond that, if you pursued that. So how does the EyeMBA, what's the impact? So what has this been like just mechanically? What have you been doing the last several years?
So it's still kind of a work in progress, as we're all experiencing. But the overall addition is 1 extra year. So the way that I've structured it is my first year after residency, it's my intern year, that was fully devoted to medicine. So I don't think I even stepped foot on Anderson's campus that entire year. And then the second year, I took a break from medicine and I did a full year at Anderson. And whereas the normal femba curriculum is 1 to 2 classes a quarter, because I was trying to front load my classes, I was taking between 4 and 5 a quarter, and diving deep into Anderson while trying to do some research at Stein on the side. And I think during that year, I managed to squeeze in half the total credits I needed to graduate, which is quite fortunate because the third year was the exact opposite. I was extremely busy in residency. I took a leave of absence for a year from Anderson to focus on residency and the call, basically. Then now that I finally got over that hump, I'm taking 1 class a quarter. in addition to my normal residency duties. So I'll finish both of them up in June 2023. So it ends up being a 5-year residency and a 4-year FEMBA program.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And then how about for you, Sagar? How you, because you're earlier in the than is Cory, but how's it going for you so far?
Yeah, it's been wonderful having Cory kind of be the test subject going through this process. And he's given me invaluable advice of how to schedule electives and start off with taking some electives sooner rather than later, so I can also get to that 50%-ish mark of credits completed by the time I'm wrapping up this quarter. And then I also plan to take a leave of absence for 1 year before going back and doing the 1 class a quarter till completion. So I have to thank Cory for being my mentor on this journey and really making it, he's done the hard work, so everything's quite easy for me.
Yeah.
Well, I want to sort of move forward to talk about, you know, the MBA side of the journey. But before we leave the residency side, any other reflections? Because I'd love to share this interview with our friends in ophthalmology. Just, you know, I'm sure they would love to hear, you know, from you directly the way this allows. Any other observations about, you know, the residency side of things before we sort of switch the questions more towards the business school side of the experience?
I think we've both been very fortunate that the faculty here at Stein are extremely interested in seeing this program succeed. So they're very accommodating, and I think there's a lot of really great lines of communication open between Anderson and Stein. So when we need some flexibility from either from Anderson or from Stein, it seems like everyone bends over backwards to help accommodate us, make sure that we're able to meet all of our milestones in both programs along the way. So we have some really great cheerleaders over here and I think over there. And it's really a wonderful collaboration.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, I think we're also really fortunate just to have ophthalmology department with great leaders in ophthalmology that have, including you know, faculty members that have gone through the MBA journey at Anderson, and they've really been able to kind of support us along the way of, you know, hey, we've done this journey combining business and ophthalmology at a later stage, and we want to give you all the tools to kind of let us have a head start, which it's invaluable. And if there's any moment or time where we have like a question to, you know, maybe be introduced to somebody for advice, they're more than willing to set up those conversations very quickly. And like Cory said, they really want us to succeed with the program and after the program.
And building on that, one more story real quick. I'm doing my capstone project for FEMBA right now. And the capstone project is sort of a summation of our business knowledge where we work for a client. And when I was talking to my mentors and leadership over here at Stein, they volunteered to be that client. So I'm doing a project that is looking at a market expansion strategy for the Stein Eye Institute and where to expand in Greater LA. So it's really been a great way to bring together both my sides here at UCLA to a project that hopefully benefit both.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, that is awesome. And is it under the Global Access Program or is it under Business Creation option?
I'm doing an SMR.
Or is it under SMR? Okay, yeah. Okay, the strategic management. Okay, that's fantastic because that will be to the good of everyone. Wow. So is your team? Is your team including executive MBAs or is it all FEMBAs or is it
we have study? So Dean Friesius was really gracious in helping me to form a team that would work very well. So we have one executive MBA who is a dentist at UCLA, and then we have 4 FEMBAs. One of them is a pharmacist here at UCLA as well. One of them is going into the nursing program here, and then we have another guy who's interested in maybe a career pivot versus just sort of his background knowledge of real estate is very beneficial to the overall team.
Oh, that's epic. Oh my God, what a powerful team. And that's one of those win-win outcomes I envision. That's epic, right? Because I'm sure that what you all come up with will be a really legitimate pathway forward for Stein to consider. Hey, here's a legit business plan that could expand our reach in Southern California, developed by people who have both medical and business acumen, who actually are also many here working. That's just awesome. You know, I think that's Dean Bernardo's vision and Dean Frasius. So yeah, wow. Everything about your journey is customized. So I see how that flexibility, you need the flexibility, but you also need the support. And, you know, I know you've said very kind words for Melissa de Ramos on our side, just to handle all the registrations, but it's also a tremendous amount of flexibility on your side, just to be willing to roll with it. So that's a great story. I love that. Thank you for adding that. Sagar, anything else before we sort of switch over to the business side of the questions?
No, I think that covers it pretty well.
Fantastic. Well, so, you know, thank you for introducing me to the ophthalmology side of your journey. Now we're going to get a bit more into familiar territory for me. So let's talk about what's the business school part of this been like? You know, inside the classroom, outside the classroom, you know, everybody always talks about how important networking is, but you're sort of here for a year and then gone for a year. So, you know, we'll start with you, Cory, but walk us through some of what it's been like on the MBA side of your experience.
Yeah, it's very, very different than medical school. Like you said, it's all about networking. So it's been great to get to know my initial classmates, the class of 2022, many of whom I still talk with. But we were, you know, having a really good relationship, and then COVID happened, so it sort of shut down everything. So I think I've lost a lot of those networking leads, unfortunately, but now I'm building those back up with my new class of 2023 being back on campus. But it's been, the business school aspect's been very fun. It's a different part of your brain that you don't use in medicine very often. And I love the collaboration.
Tell me a little bit about that. Like, how do you see that? That's a really cool observation.
Well, I think in medicine, it's very structured, very algorithmic. More often than not, there's right answers and there's wrong answers. Whereas in these business school classes, while there are right answers, wrong answers, it's more about how you get there. It's the team dynamic, the team working together, different points of view and perspectives on how you formulate a solution. So it's much more of a collaborative approach to problems than what I'm used to in medicine.
Mm. And then, yeah, the whole COVID blip combined with just the sequencing for yourself to go through. So there was like the initial wave of connections made, and then those kind of fell to the side, but now there's the reestablishment of a new wave of connections.
Yeah, I think of it, you know, everybody in the FEMBA program is eager to make these connections and stay in contact, and at the very least connect on LinkedIn and have these connections going forward that you can pull from if needed.
And how about sort of core classes and electives? How are the two? Because that's sort of a big, there's the first phase of FEMBA, which is core courses, and then there's the second half of FEMBA, which is the electives. You've had a chance to take some of both. How was that part of the experience for you?
It's been great. You know, I think the core classes are, in many cases, they're things I would not have elected to take. But I think the knowledge has been, you know, it's been great. It's been laid a foundation for my capstone project and everything else I've been doing. And then getting into the electives, there's such a great breadth of options available. Many within the healthcare specialization tract that I've taken that I really loved to sort of put a new spin on healthcare. So I've taken, my favorite class has been healthcare technology with Professor McKinney. That was really interesting to see innovation and entrepreneurship in the medical devices space, but also healthcare analytics has been a great class, and a number of others. But then even healthcare aside, there's been, you know, great classes in real estate and in finance and other academic interests that I wasn't expecting to really dive into, that I found a lot of interest in.
Very great. Very great. And I mean, outside of class, you're married, you have a baby on the way. You're doing a lot. Have you had a chance to participate with any of the social stuff plus the constraints of COVID, or has your experience been mostly in the classroom, would you say, or how has that part been?
Yeah, it's been busy. I try to come to some of the social events where I can. Some happy hours, some meals, the occasional meet up at a dog park. So I think everyone in the FEMBA program, not just us, are busy working professionals, often with their own families, their own lives. So I think trying to coordinate is something that takes a lot of effort, but I think when we get there, it's worth it.
Awesome. I love it. And how about you, Sagar? What observations, or how could you share from your experience on the business side of the experience so far?
Yeah, so I've also been lucky to take a lot of electives along with my core classes this first year, and I'm taking the healthcare technology course that Cory mentioned, along with just a breadth of other classes. I think it's been great to take the core curriculum and then to kind of ask, like, where do I not necessarily have a knowledge or like classroom education in, and how can I augment that base? And being in Los Angeles, I've been curious to take an entertainment class. I've taken business law. I took a public speaking class, and it's all just kind of adding to the knowledge bank. I took 2 quant classes last quarter as well, to kind of really build out what I think I really wanted out of this experience, which was to learn as much as possible, and to kind of prepare myself for hopefully a lifelong career being in Los Angeles. Because it's such a different representation of industries here than what I was used to growing up in New York. And I think the courses really do reflect that well. And especially in the electives, we have great guest speakers that will come in that are local to the area or within California, and they really provide how they've applied business knowledge to the local ecosystem to achieve very, very high levels of success. I mean, speakers that come to the healthcare technology class that have just raised Series C, $60 million in fundraising for VR surgical training technology. Just having like local lawyers come to our business law class to talk about the different areas of litigation that they're involved in. Having the president of Hulu come to class to talk about how he launched Disney Plus and then came over to run a major streamer. It's really inspiring just to have that level of industry expertise that's very local to Los Angeles.
Oh, that's awesome. And I think I got a little note in here. What about this is a little more fun. What about the ski trip?
Oh yeah, I did also go on I think it's called Anderson. It's like Mammoth Anderson trip this year. I have a little like memento mug, but such a great time. And I think this year, having the flexibility, I've been able to do a good amount socially with my femba class. I'm actually having people over tonight from my section, which is just to come by, have a drink on the patio, and like relax and just get to know each other more casually, because we have learning groups, and the learning groups shift every few quarters, and then some friends that I make in the electives, it's like, hey, everyone should kind of come on over. One of my co-residents' husband's going to stop by, and it's just like a little melting for the people that I have in LA, and hopefully an opportunity to continue to meet more people.
Oh, I love both of those examples. One of the questions that I get asked a lot is, well, what's the networking like in a quote unquote part-time MBA, executive MBA like femba? And, and I think sometimes people think, oh, if I'm a full-time student, the networking will be better, right? Because I will be, only a graduate student, and I can just immerse myself in the opportunity to meet my classmates, and that's a legit pathway, and it works for many people. I was a full-time student in Chicago, fine, but I think it's maybe a quantity quality type argument. You can only meet so many people anyway, and I love my classmates in Chicago. We had a great time together, and we did much networking, but every single person I was networking with had a job they were willing to quit. So I was networking with a bunch of unemployed MBA students, and that's fine. And maybe at a quantity level, there was more churn. I could just get through, shake hands with more people, kiss more babies, I guess, as a politician might do. But what I observe with executive MBA students, and Cory, maybe your wife's experience, and with the fully employed, kind of the junior executive cohort, you are maybe not going to have the same quantity, but the quality is really excellent, because these are very interesting people who are also working full time, who are juggling life and school and personal lives. So I don't know, maybe Friday night on the patio with 5 people and having a deep quality moment in all of the busyness is equally valid to my experience as a second youngest person in Chicago, going out on Thursday night with 50 of my closest friends for a pub crawl in Chicago. I don't know, quantity high, but quality possibly low, in the sense of that was more just like undergrad 2.0 for me, and nothing wrong with undergrad, but that's different than, no, I'm a mid-career person building like a substantial part of the foundation of the next few decades of my career, and I want to surround myself with some excellent, high quality professional contacts. So sorry, long non-question essay in the middle of your interview. So Cory, now let's, you've got some stuff cooking on the side, which I have no idea how you have time for that. Med tech startup kind of stuff. What have you been doing outside of residency, and I guess outside of femba?
Yeah, so I think really what I've been doing outside of residency in femba has been because of residency in femba. The med tech startup I'm working at is it's a robotic surgery device company that was founded by one of our faculty members here at Stein. And I was initially connected to him through faculty members here at Stein who knew I was in the business program and had business knowledge. So initially it was, hey, can you help us build some some cap tables for projecting income for this company? And then it sort of grew from there to take more and more of a business consultant role in this company. And yeah, it's been really interesting. It's, again, ophthalmology and business in one, but also with technology, which is sort of my background and my passion. And I think it's an incredible opportunity. I hope I can continue working there even after residency. And I think it's really only possible because of this program and because of the unique intersection that I find myself in.
Oh, I love how you phrase that it's outside of ophthalmology, outside of femba, but it's actually because of both. So he has his startup going, one of the faculty where you are, and he sees you and says, hey, how do I value this thing? Which is just something I guess you never get taught in medical school, I could guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of a sudden you have, you bring an additional body of knowledge to the party. And you can be a translator between him, who is going to have okay, this is a robotic surgery execution. As a surgeon, I can see the utility of this, but I have no idea how one goes about taking a better mousetrap, quote unquote, to market. And now I have Cory, and I can ask Cory a question, and Cory, as he goes through Anderson, can say, okay, here's how one goes about creating a value projection, and you can translate between the two worlds.
Yeah, I think that they came into it with, the world's best minds in engineering and robotics and ophthalmology and everything you need to form the background of this company. But then when it came to the valuing the company and doing market research and financial estimates, that's sort of a blind spot in many scientists' expertise. And it happened to coincide very well with my accounting class and my corporate finance class, and right along what I was taking. So I was able to apply those skills, translate them pretty rapidly into something that hopefully will be a big success.
That's fantastic. And that's also part of what's distinct about keeping one's employment or keeping one's growth and development versus being just quote unquote just, and there's nothing just about it, but being a full-time graduate student, you have to kind of hold all that great knowledge for your internship after your first year summer, or even after your second year, in my case, as a full-time MBA, when you re-enter the marketplace. Okay, now I'm ready to go. But in an executive or a femba model, you can try it out Monday morning, right? You can use it in real time. And it's just a different pedagogy, not better, not worse, but distinct, very distinct. And in your case, it's leading to these outside opportunities in parallel to both the residency and femba. Anything else about that journey so far?
No, I mean, it's been great. I hope I can keep working there. I hope I keep getting more knowledge and skills at Anderson. I have a few electives lined up that I'm hoping to take that I think will translate nicely into that industry. But yeah, it's been an exciting ride.
Awesome. And how about you, Sagar? Raising your own venture capital fund. What do you have going in addition to all of the other?
Yeah, I kind of saw this as an opportunity it was actually inspired from another Anderson group. So there's a group called Findau Capital, which is a student-run hedge fund. I think where there's a group of about 5 or 6 general partners that have pulled together some of their own money. They've gotten their Series 65, which is the Registered Investment Advisor FINRA certification, to grow a fund, manage capital, have returns, and then, upon graduation, actually raise like a formal large hedge fund. And I thought, okay, that's really interesting. I have always loved kind of the venture space. I've done a couple angel investments in the last few years and have had pretty good results with my method, and thought this would be a great opportunity to take something that I really enjoy doing and that I'm going to do regardless, and kind of open it up into a more formal product to establish a track record that then I can go in a couple of years and hopefully, fingers crossed, raise a larger fund. And I also think it's just a great opportunity to get some Anderson students involved more on the venture space. We do have the UCLA Accelerator. We have the biodesign program that has, housed successful companies that have gone on to raise great rounds of fundraising, which is wonderful from a deal flow perspective for me. And I think just like how Findau's, involving students to learn about the kind of structures and how running a hedge fund works, I would love to do the same from a venture perspective.
I love it. And, how does this tie in back to your Grasshopper Capital experience, before you got out here to Los Angeles? I think one of the things I observe about entrepreneurs is that, and one of the benefits that I see people tap into with Anderson, is that it's not a one and done approach. It's not, oh, I have one good idea and I want to put all my eggs in that basket, but it's more, successful entrepreneurs tend to be serial entrepreneurs. They tend to try and try again and learn some more, and they get more conversant in the approaches. Like you said, you have a process that's working pretty well. And I see people come here with taking advantage of the business creation option, working with the venture accelerator, with Startup UCLA across campus, really deepening their network, deepening their confidence, fine tuning what their approach is going to be as additional opportunities arise over, the next chapters of their career. So, how are you seeing entrepreneurship now to where you might have been seeing it 5 or 10 years ago? Because you've been involved in this for a while.
Yeah, I've always been one of those people that likes to learn as much as possible and then immediately try and apply it on a personal level where you're, putting up real stakes. So if that's running a startup, putting money to do some development work or to learn the skill to do the development work, then trying to get customers and applying the teachings of marketing. And it's really hard to do it. And it's harder than to find success with it. But if you want to put it on a timeline, if there's like 20 years for you to ideate and you can ideate every 4 years, that's 5 good ideas that you can put out and test. And not only does it apply the knowledge that you've learned, but it allows you to learn more. And it allows you to really test it. And if something, works well, then that's it. Everything clicks into place. With the cryptocurrency hedge fund, the valuations are actually quite similar to a venture fund, because investing in a crypto hedge fund, it's not necessarily a hedge fund, it's a venture fund, but because there are these cryptocurrency assets or tokens, and there are exchanges for them, you do get immediate liquidity. So it's called a hedge fund, but I really think of it more as a venture fund. You're still looking for great founders, first and foremost, that are building great products that serve a need, that do have customers that are utilizing the service and finding value. And then as a result, that token or that utility coin that is used on their product platform then has value. So the thought process with the hedge fund is very similar to the angel investing that I did for 6 years, and it's the same thought process that I have now. Just applied in a little bit different way, but I'm very excited for.
I love it. And, as you went through med school at Case Western, were there a lot of other medical doctors who were exploring this whole side of business and everything? Or, are you kind of unique? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so I think it's a little bit of a changing trend. I can speak on this a little bit, but not with full 100% certainty. Within my specific cohort of medical students, there was, one ex-professional hockey player that pursued an MBA, went on to run a pretty successful podcast, and then he decided to go work for an orthopedic startup in lieu of going to residency at first, and then eventually did become an orthopedic surgery resident. And there was another student who had actually been running a hedge fund as well. So even at Case Western, there were plenty of students that I think did have interests outside of strict medicine. Some people applied for the Med Fellows program at McKinsey, where students take a break between 3rd and 4th year of medical school to go work for 2 years at McKinsey to kind of go along the consulting route. There's a tremendous amount of options. If you, I think, look at the graduating statistics for students from Stanford and Stanford and Penn's medical school, I think about 10% of them will opt to not go into residency, but will go into either banking or consulting or running their own company. So I think it is something that's becoming more and more popular, where you have medical students that are, there for the curiosity of medicine, but then also see opportunities that comes from that education. Like how one of our faculty members went to go start a company from maybe a problem that he saw in his practice, or something that was a way of the future. I think people are seeing that as well while they're in medical school and really excited to run companies.
Wow. It's fascinating, right? I don't know, as a person who never went to medical school, it always occurred for me, like, in looking at my own peer network from undergrad, and, the folks with the highest sort of discipline tended to aim at medicine. Then right under that was maybe a tie for people who went to law school or people who went into the really tough engineering pathways, the aerospace, the nuclear folks. And then, then there were people like myself, didn't quite have the same work ethic, work discipline at that point. And, I'll get an MBA. That seems like a good graduate degree. So I just think, I love Sagar when we were talking yesterday and you said, there's nothing interesting about me. I'm an Indian whose mom wanted a doctor. I'm like, come on, man, you got the proudest mom in the world. You did it. You did it. It's just like, where does a society, like, we want talent to find opportunity. That's to everybody's benefit, and we want the best people who are capable of being doctors to end up as doctors, and the best people capable of being teachers to be teachers, and the best people capable of being mechanics to be mechanics. It's in everyone's self-interest that, societally spoken, that talent matches to opportunity, because that makes a society that really works, and people get to take their talents and grow them. So it's just fascinating to me to hear what else medical doctors might be thinking about as they go through something that from the outside just looks ridiculously grueling. Like, I can't, so that's for both you and Cory. It's like, how do you guys have time to think outside the box when the box that you're in is, from my layman's observation from the outside, a very demanding world? So, well, Cory, how about yourself? You're ahead of Sagar by 2 years, and you're not done, but you're over the hump, you're over halfway. As you envision completing, you said 2023 is kind of where the culmination point will be for you next year. How do you envision using your MBA short-term and medium-term? What are your plans including? And are those plans modified by what you've experienced earning femba in addition?
Yeah, I think that's kind of the million-dollar question here. Having an MBA as a resident is certainly a powerful toolkit to have. And I thought it was going to enable me to target my dream position and sort of narrow down where I'm going. But it's really the opposite. I think that now that I've been exposed to so much out there and the possibilities of, entering any space within medicine or business, I'm not exactly sure where I want to land. In the short term, I'm going to apply for some positions to practice medicine for a couple of years, learn the business of medicine. I do find surgery to be very fun, so I want to stay involved in that for a while. And hopefully end up in a practice or institution that will allow me to spend some time in innovation technology pursuits as well. But medium long term, we'll see. It's kind of one step at a time.
Wow. So whereas you thought, overlaying these two domains on top of each other would aim you, instead it's just sort of opened up more opportunity even.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could imagine how your choice group could start to feel extremely big at this point.
Yeah.
And then you have a family expanding.
That too.
It's the dance of life, and your wife's career, and yeah, it's I love the life is what happens while we're making our plans idea. So
oh yeah.
I can't wait to follow, though. I can't wait to see what you do choose. And we ultimately vote with our feet, right? We can only be located in one location at a time, even if we're digitally engaged in many, many things. So, time will tell, and where you are will answer the question of what you saw to be the best opportunity for your talents. To quote LeBron James way back when, I'm taking my talents to South Beach. Like each of us has this bundle of talents. We polish them, we practice, we exercise, we get as good as we're capable of becoming. And then where's the world need that? Well, I know we have a couple of folks listening, David and Bonnie. I don't know if you guys have any questions. I'd love to hear those. And we're kind of starting to come towards the end of the conversation. So let me pause for a second. I should have given you a little more warning. But anything that you guys would like to ask of Cory and Sagar? Okay, well, I have my little favorite sort of towards the end of the podcast, my little mascot. Oh, wait a minute, Bonnie says, what does Bonnie say? Oh, just congratulations. Yes. Yeah, really congratulations. Thank you guys for going first. And, we have high hopes that the learnings of your journey are going to pay forward to other folks in ophthalmology for sure, but even in residencies beyond that. So yeah, just to deepen that. Thank you, Bonnie. So I was about to wave my little Bruin bear here, and my kind of end of podcast question. And I guess, Cory, we can start with you. It's a 3-part question. And the bear reminds me of a bear hug. And this is actually from my brother, my brother, John said, well, maybe you could ask your interview guests, they could give a bear hug to their favorite faculty, their a femba friend, and a family member. So one each, faculty, friend, and family member. And the idea is that, the African proverb of it takes a village to raise a child. Well, it takes a village to raise a graduate student. And in your case, to earn a residency or to experience residency and earn a graduate degree. So none of us do these big challenges in life on our own. So Cory, at this point, you're not to the finish line, but you're over the hump. Who would you like to send some bear hugs to? Faculty, and I guess it could be Jules, Stein, or Anderson, or a combo, and then a friend and a family.
Faculty, so many bear hugs. At Anderson, really everyone over there is so wonderful. It made this such an enjoyable program for me. Again, Professor McCaney has taught my favorite class. I've worked with her a little bit in some biodesign stuff on the side, so hug to her. Melissa de Ramos for coordinating the program, and then all the administration, yourself included. It's just been so easy to reach out to, talk to, and accommodate anything we need. At Stein, Dr. Prasad, he was the brains behind this FEMBA program. He also is a FEMBA alum, so he knows what we're going through. Dr. Mondino, our chair, he's been very supportive. Dr. Pinellas, our coordinator, also very supportive. Yeah, everybody has been great. So I'll give bear hugs to them as faculty and as friends. And then family to my wife, Madison, who is doing business school and very pregnant and working full time and supporting our lifestyle because my resident salary does not cut it in LA. So bear hug to her too.
I can't wait to meet her at graduation next year. That'll be awesome. And get to see, I guess it'll be a 1-year-old by then.
Well, she'll be graduation this year too for her class.
Oh, well, that's true. Okay, well, yeah, I usually don't go to EyeMBA graduation, but maybe, no. Maybe I should. Maybe I will. Well, maybe I'll probably be there for. Okay, all right. I love that. All right. I don't know if I know what she looks like, so now we gotta make a connection. But I know what you look like, so okay, all right. Oh, maybe I'll get to see you at 2 graduations 2 years in a row. All right, I like this. My brain is catching up with the possibility of it all. Awesome. Thank you, Cory. And Sagar, how about for you? What bear hugs would you like to send out to the universe? Even though you're a little earlier in the program, but you're this far in.
Yeah, so many great professors. I think I would give my professor bear hug to Professor Jane Guerin, who teaches our business law class. She's taken the time outside of class just to mentor me personally, which I've really appreciated, and never shied away from my endless questions about this hypothetical situation or this hypothetical situation. Then definitely to Melissa Ramos, who's made the scheduling of classes much easier and has been extraordinarily flexible with helping us out. The administration for sure. And I have to definitely thank the faculty at Stein Eye Institute. Debbie Sato is our wonderful residency coordinator who really makes our life a million times better and smoother and really looks out for us. Doesn't chastise us when we've overlooked an email from 4 months ago, which is very kind of her.
Yes,
so I will give her the best friend and the biggest hug out of everybody.
Oh, That's great.
Yeah, I've had wonderful femba classmates, too many to list. I even have a friend from femba that I hang out with regularly who was only there for, I think, the first quarter, and is now on a leave just because his job has gotten quite busy. But it's, it's really special, like who you can meet. It could be even just from one class, and then who you stay in touch with. I mean, I moved to LA having one friend that lived in Irvine, so it's like basically a long distance friendship, and everything else has kind of been built from scratch while I've been here. And femba's been a wonderful opportunity to really make lifelong friends.
Oh, well, I love to hear that, because that would be a concern.
I'll give Cory a hug too, because Cory has really helped me out.
I get you.
All right. All right, we got a Zoom bro hug left and right there. And do you guys see each other in real life, quote unquote, non-Zoom life? Or has it been mostly digital because of
some 2 days ago?
Yeah. It's so, I love I don't know, I guess UCLA Health had a more physical component, because direct delivery of healthcare requires being in the room. But Anderson, I still feel like I saw somebody yesterday, and it's like, oh my God, it's been 2 years. It's just crazy that we've just not seen each other except in a little rectangle. So, well, we're coming up to the top of the hour. This has been a thrill for me. I was telling my wife this morning, like, these guys are awesome, and I hope I can put an appropriate amount of spotlight on their remarkable trajectories. So thank you guys for rolling with me. I'm still learning how to be a podcaster. But kind of final words are yours. Anything, Cory and Sagar, we'll go with Cory first, but any kind of final thoughts about anything? The idea with these interviews is that they are useful to the future, right? We're recording these first person stories to continue to attract great people to UCLA and help them understand, how this place works. So any parting thoughts to future UCLA or to any of the folks you're going through the journey with right now? And Cory, we'll start with you.
I think that as we move forward as a society, we're going to see medicine, business, technology become more and more intertwined, and having these experiences to combine these different fields of professions is really going to help you succeed as a professional in future. Having a basic fluency in business is beneficial for professionals in every walk of life, not just medicine. And so I think this program and programs like that would be well worth the time and investment to try.
Thank you. Yes, I do think all of these worlds are colliding, and people are going to have to be able to translate across different domains, and it's going to take pioneers like yourself to figure out how to do that. So that's awesome. And Sagar, how about yourself?
I think the best takeaway that I've had from this whole experience is the value of having great mentors. You can find mentorship amongst colleagues in the classroom. I mean, I have a call next week with somebody about how their valuation approaches. You can find mentorship from professors, from co-residents, from the faculty members that we have. And there's so much learning that comes from inside the classroom, but also just outside the classroom. I've always told people that the number one place that I've learned, despite the many, many years of schooling, is always just from the individual conversations that I have with people. So I don't go to like a happy hour just to go to happy hour. I go like with the intention of, I'm probably going to learn something really interesting tonight from somebody that I haven't hopefully had a conversation with before. And that interpersonal learning is really why I think I've been able to just retain so much information about so many different industries and kind of keep a clear head through everything.
Oh, I love that. That's a wonderful way to end, about the value of mentorship. And you explained in your faculty shout out a moment ago about, asking endless hypothetical questions and and going into a networking opportunity, not just to talk about the weather, weather sports and family or whatever, but to look and be curious and to find perspective through the perspective of those around us. That's a great way to be in all areas of life, in my humble observation. That's great.
Yeah, Cory has been a great mentor to me, just along the path of thinking of long-term, how I should view my career, what the next years of training will be like, one day, what it will be like to be a parent, I'm sure. So there's endless amounts of wisdom just from this, intimate Zoom call.
Well,
I'm gonna call you as well, Dean Stafford, when I have questions.
Now, please call me Dylan. Thank you. You don't ever have to say Dean again, but I'd be happy to. I wrote a book about being a dad. It's called Daddy Muscles. I've sold tens of copies, but it's a love story. It's my biggest, bestest thing in my life is I won the lottery with my wife. She's a tremendous human being, and I'm blessed to be the father of two healthy children. And it makes it's what all the other stuff is for. I'm 53, so I'm like, okay, I'm over the halfway hump, right? I'm going to live to be 106. So I got 53 years in front of me. And it's, I'm not independently wealthy, but I've received plenty. And now it's like, I think what I love about education, it's like, how do you pay it forward? And I'm very serious about, society needs to help allocate talent to opportunity. And graduate school is an incredible sifting mechanism for that. And UCLA attracts people like yourselves who are high aspiration, high potential, really incredible human beings. And, I want you all to win for you each individually, but also because you're going to run the hospitals that myself and my children will receive care from. It's important. And I want America and the world to work and function. And I want us to be able to solve these big challenges that are in front of us. So thank you for the acknowledgement. So I will share this, my cool graphic over here that I forgot to share earlier. And, this has been Doctors Cory Hoeferlin and Sagar Rambhia. I'm Dylan Stafford. I'm your host. This has been UCLA Drive Time episode number 87. These are the gentlemen who pioneered our Eye MBA, and we're really grateful for their trust of the opportunity and that they said yes, and that they are laying the groundwork for future partnerships between UCLA Health and UCLA Anderson to the benefit of UCLA and California and the bigger, broader conversation. So Cory and Sagar, thanks again for your time today. Thanks for everybody who was able to listen to us live and in the future. Thanks for everybody who will get a chance to hear this on the recording. So thanks, everyone.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.